Have you ever felt that sudden surge of anger or maybe an impulse to react, a fear that seems to just take over?
Oh, absolutely. That feeling like, where did that come from? We all know it.
Exactly. And you're left wondering, am I just sort of a passenger here? Well, what if you're not? What if there's this quiet revolution waiting inside you? What if you're not meant to be helpless?
It's such a common human experience, isn't it? That feeling of being pulled by these unseen forces. Like you're not quite in the driver's seat.
Yeah. And that's really what this deep dive is all about today. It's an invitation to, well, to that internal revolution, a kind of shortcut maybe to understanding how you can shift from being, helplessly driven to living consciously.
Right. And we're diving into Prakash Nair's book, The Observer's Journey, Awakening to a Life of Conscious Choice. Really insightful stuff about our mind-body system.
It really is. The book introduces these two central figures, right? The observer
Yeah, that's the silent witness, the awareness faculty.
and the driver, which is, well, that emotional or instinctual force that so often just grabs the wheel.
Exactly. And understanding that interplay, that dynamic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the key, the book argues, to unlocking a life of conscious choice.
Right.
Instead of just, reacting all the time.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The
Right.
book starts by talking about our mind-body system as a semi-autonomous vehicle. What does that actually mean for us day to day? How much is really on autopilot?
Well, it's a great metaphor because, honestly, so much is automatic. Your mind-body is constantly breathing, digesting, reacting, even thinking,
Yeah.
often without you consciously intervening at all. In this automatic function, it's shaped by, our genes, but also all our life experiences. They carve out these reflexes and habits. Think
Ah.
about Daniel Goleman's amygdala hijack.
Oh, yeah, where emotion just bypasses the thinking brain.
Right. The trigger hits and bam, you're reacting before your rational mind even gets the memo. I mean, I had one just last week. Someone cut me off in traffic. And before I even thought, I was, well, let's just say reacting strongly. My prefrontal cortex definitely took a vacation.
Been there. And it's fascinating. This isn't just modern neuroscience, is it? Like Descartes was talking about mind-body separation centuries ago.
He was, yeah. And modern science kind of echoes that, confirming that consciousness, that ability to observe thoughts and feelings. It isn't the same thing as the machinery that produces them.
So if we're largely on autopilot, what exactly is a driver in this model?
Good question. The book defines a driver as basically any dominant emotional or instinctual force that commandeers the mind-body system at any given moment.
So it could be anything, like primal stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Anger, fear, jealousy, those primal forces. But also, the more elevated ones, love, compassion, wonder. It really depends on the situation and our conditioning.
The book gives that great example. Watching a sunset. Awe is driving. Then a big wave comes, and suddenly fear grabs the wheel.
Exactly. It shows how fast that internal leadership can shift, one moment to the next.
Does that speed make it harder to gain control? Or can the observer still step in even when, say, fear takes over suddenly?
It definitely makes it challenging, no doubt. But that's precisely where the potential for awareness comes in.
Wow.
And it explains so much about human inconsistency, right?
Totally. Like losing your temper, then feeling genuinely sorry hours later?
Yes, it's not necessarily a deep character flaw. It's shifting internal leadership. The book says, like, the angry self lashed out, then the empathetic self repented later. We tend to bundle all these shifting drivers together and call it me, assuming that whole volatile mix is our authentic self.
It can feel like having multiple personalities sometimes, can it?
It really can.
Okay, so if that bundle of shifting drivers isn't our true self, who is? The book brings in the observer. Why is this idea so central? What is it, really?
Well, the observer, according to Nair, is the real self. It's the faculty of consciousness itself. It's that silent witness inside you. The part that can notice thoughts, feelings, sensations without getting all tangled up in them.
Like watching the anger rise, but not being the anger.
Precisely. Noticing fear without becoming the fear itself.
And this connects back to older ideas, too, like Plato's idea of reason guiding the other parts of the soul.
Yeah, there's a resonance there. The observer has this capacity to kind of oversee the drivers. And the book mentions Dendapani's principle. Where awareness goes, energy flows.
Okay, tell me more about that. How does just directing awareness redirect energy?
It's a really powerful concept. It suggests that when you consciously choose where to put your attention, you literally shift the energy flow in your mind-body. So notice anger starting to bubble up.
Right.
If you choose to shift your awareness, maybe towards patience or understanding, you actually weaken anger's grip and strengthen the other quality. You can literally alter your emotional chemistry by shifting focus from jealousy to gratitude, for instance.
Wow. So conscious living is basically noticing who's driving and then, if needed, choosing a better driver. It sounds incredibly empowering.
It is.
But then the book hits you with that statistic. Most people are only truly conscious, what, 5–10% of the time?
Yeah, that one's a bit of a wake-up call, isn't it?
For sure. It means most of life is just reflex and habit.
Yeah.
How do you even start closing that gap?
Well, that statistic also highlights why habit is so crucial. Because when the observer repeatedly assigns the right drivers, like choosing patience over anger again and again in traffic,
Okay.
those choices start to become the default settings. The book has this lovely line, good habits are like faithful lieutenants. They continue to serve the higher purpose even when the general sleeps.
I like that. Faithful lieutenants. And this understanding is not just intellectual, is it? It feels like it could really disarm shame.
Absolutely. Realizing that maybe a lot of your past actions weren't you and your core self, but some transient condition driver, that's
Yeah.
huge.
It doesn't excuse things, but it reframes them. It frees you from maybe some guilt, but also calls you to responsibility now.
Exactly. To become a wise steward of your inner world, as the book puts it. The journey isn't about never messing up, it's about attentiveness, noticing, choosing better when you can, forgiving yourself when you stumble, living by awareness, not just instinct.
Okay, so the observer is this witness, this awareness. But how does it actually do anything? It has to work through the human body and mind, which, let's face it, aren't always perfect instruments.
Right. The book makes that point clearly. The observer is a custodian, not a creator. It's like a rider on a horse they didn't choose. You have to work with the horse. You've got its temperament, its condition.
And our apparatus has flaws. Our senses deceive us all the time, right? The stick in water looks bent, the sun seems to circle us, optical illusions.
Yet, Plato's cave analogy still holds up. We see shadows, not always the real thing. And Daniel Kahneman's work on System 1, the fast, intuitive mind, it often jumps to conclusions that System 2, the slower analytical mind, has to clean up later. The observer relies on this sometimes faulty translation.
And it's not just senses. Our emotions, the very drivers we're trying to manage, they cloud judgment too.
Definitely. Fear makes danger seem bigger. Anger narrows your focus to just hitting back. Grief colors everything gray. If those drivers run wild, the observer becomes just a passenger getting tossed around.
Then there's the physical body itself. Aging, illness, just being tired, hormones.
All of it influences perception and action. Pain makes it hard to focus. Lack of sleep dulls empathy. It reminds me of Epictetus, the Stoic.
Some things are up to us and some things are not.
Exactly. The body's condition isn't fully controllable, but our response to it, that's where the observer comes in.
So knowing these limits doesn't mean giving up. It actually elevates the observer's job, doesn't it? It becomes this, like, sacred duty of custodianship.
Yes. To maintain the mind-body health, rest, learning, to train the emotional landscape reflection, compassion, resilience, to clarify perception, mindfulness, questioning, and to accept the unavoidable limitations with, grace.
The book mentions Helen Keller as an example here.
Such a powerful example, blind, deaf, yet the inner strength, the discipline, opened up worlds for her. It shows the observer's greatness isn't about having perfect tools, but about working miracles with imperfect ones.
Yeah. Being human means seeing imperfectly, feeling chaotically, but still reaching for clarity and truth.
That's the work.
Now, the book takes a really interesting turn, bringing in love as a kind of unexpected ally for the observer. It describes love not just as an emotion, but something bigger.
Yeah, expansive rather than contractive, generative rather than consumptive. It suggests love animates our emotions, sure, but it also connects to something vaster than just our individual mind-body system.
Like Plato's idea of love as a ladder, moving from the physical up towards the divine.
Exactly that kind of idea. Or Eric Fromm talking about love as an active practice, a discipline, not just a feeling you fall into. Both point towards love being a deeper alignment, a conscious choice connecting the finite observer to something more.
So strategically, if you install love as the driver, the book says it expands awareness, clarifies perception, invites generosity, makes the whole system more resilient.
Right. So love isn't just this nice, fuzzy feeling. It's actually a powerful strategic choice for managing your internal state, your vehicle.
But how do you actively cultivate that, especially when, anger or fear or resentment are yelling much louder for the wheel?
That's the key. It has to be cultivated consciously. You can't just wait for it to show up. The observer needs to actively choose it. Choose understanding when judgment is easier. Choose forgiveness over holding a grudge. Choose connection when alienation feels safer. Choose patience when you want to snap.
Each choice strengthens the observer's ability to choose it again.
Precisely, it builds that muscle.
Then the book goes even further, suggesting the observer can access something beyond the five senses, a sixth sense. Intuition, energy sensitivity, insight. Sounds intriguing. But how reliable is that, especially if, like you said, the wrong driver is steering?
That's the crucial caveat. Often, intuition seems to fail not because it's not real, but because anxiety is twisting the signal or anger is misinterpreting things.
Oh, okay.
But the idea is when the observer's active, and maybe it's a sign a driver like calm or openness or curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
then a deeper clarity can emerge. It's like the observer has this quiet channel, getting intuitive data that bypasses the usual filters.
We all know those stories, don't we? The parent who just knows something's wrong, the entrepreneur who walks away from a deal that looks good on paper but feels off, the soldier ducking for no apparent reason.
Right, they're not necessarily supernatural, but they hint at this deeper access. And there is a scientific phenomena that kind of nudge at this possibility too, like the placebo effect.
Where belief itself triggers healing.
Yeah, it's the mind-body responding to expectation, trust. It shows consciousness can activate physical changes. And Rupert Sheldrake's ideas about morphic resonance.
Exploring how minds might be linked beyond the brain.
Exactly. It opens the door to thinking the observer might tap into a larger field of intelligence. It's speculative, of course, but interesting.
So practically, how do we develop this sixth sense, if it's there?
The book suggests things like deliberately assigning drivers like calm and openness, making space for silence insight, needs quiet, paying attention to those intuitive nudges, tracking them, building trust, but also balancing it with critical thinking, discernment. It's not infallible.
And helping kids notice their inner knowing, too.
Yes. Ultimately, the book says this sixth sense isn't something you have to acquire, it's something you uncover. It's already part of the system, just often obscured.
Okay, let's shift to the space of choice. Most of what we do is a reaction, right? Feeling, impulse, action, often instantaneous. But the book says there's always a space between the impulse and the action. How do we find that space? What's its power?
It can feel tiny, almost non-existent sometimes, but it is always there. And that's where the freedom lies. The observer lives in that space. It's the part that can see the wave of impulse rising before it crashes into action.
Not resisting it, just seeing it.
Seeing it.
Yeah.
And in the seeing, its grip loosens.
It reminds me of that Viktor Frankl quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space.
In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom.
So powerful, especially considering where he wrote it.
It really hits home. Even
Yeah.
when everything external is out of control, that inner space, that micro moment before reacting, that's where you reclaim your freedom. Not by controlling the world, but by mastering your response to it.
And the Stoics Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they were saying a similar thing centuries ago. It's not events, but our judgments about them. Even modern psychology, like Kahneman's System 1 and 2.
The fast, instinctive mind versus the slower, deliberate one. Right. Whatever label you use, the practice of noticing builds strength. Not brute willpower, but strength of presence. Not denial, but discernment. That space is where real change begins.
So what does life actually feel like when you're operating more from the observer's seat? Does it mean being detached or withdrawn?
No, not at all, according to the book. It's about entering life more fully, but with a different kind of presence. The chaos doesn't stop, emotions don't vanish, but you're not just yanked around by every little thing.
You start feeling more spaciousness, clarity, kindness.
Exactly. That Lao Tzu quote about patience comes to mind. Do you have the patience to wait till your mud settles? That willingness to let things be without immediate reaction, that's a sign the observer is online. Small annoyances don't bite as hard. Criticism stings less. Fear has less grip.
You still feel it all, maybe even more deeply.
Yes, but you're not swept away by it.
Eckhart Tolle's line, "You are not the thought. You are the awareness behind the thought." That feels relevant here.
Very much so. It doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful differently. Acting from seeing, not from blindness.
And it's not about being perfect, right? Old habits will pop up.
Oh, for sure. But the observer helps you notice sooner, return faster, and maybe forgive ourselves more gently, as the book suggests. It's like Rumi said, let life live through you. It's full engagement, but with wisdom steering, not just knee-jerk reaction.
Okay, but here's a really important point the book makes. Just being aware isn't the final goal. The mind-body is clever. It can even create an illusion of self-awareness while still just serving basic urges, pleasure, comfort, validation, security. The observer can just be watching passively.
Precisely. That's a subtle but crucial distinction. The book stresses that it is the act of choosing, with reflection and intention, that signals the observer is at work.
So even doing something seemingly noble, like defending your kid.
Could still be driven by unconscious programming, like survival instincts.
Yeah.
The observer might just be a bystander watching the automatic response unfold.
So real, lasting change needs more than just watching. It needs that active step into the space between impulse and action.
Yes. And it requires, as the book says, enduring the discomfort of resisting primal urges in favor of deeper values. It's not always easy. It's about the practice, the quiet courage to keep trying, strengthening the observer until those better drivers' love, compassion, clarity become more readily available.
And these inner shifts, they don't just stay inside, do they? They ripple out.
Absolutely. When sadness or anger or fear comes up, you don't have to deny them, but you recognize them as drivers. You choose if they get to lead. You can let sadness speak without letting it steer the whole ship. Acknowledge fear without surrendering the controls. Honor anger's message without, weaponizing it.
And then you can consciously invite other drivers forward. Hope, courage, compassion, patience, even joy.
Yes. And that changes your inner atmosphere, which changes the energy you bring into the world.
Yeah.
William James said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." It's strategic. Not all emotions deserve leadership, even if they all deserve acknowledgement.
People feel that shift in you, don't they? Kids especially. Friends notice.
They do. It creates a different kind of space. Maybe reaction isn't met with more reaction. Maybe clarity becomes possible. Thich Nhat Hanh's point, when you are at peace, you help the world become more peaceful. It starts inside.
Let's talk about kids, because they're just bundles of powerful drivers, aren't they? Joy, anger, sadness, excitement, boom, it's all right there. Their observers are still developing.
Totally. They live so close to their impulses, often just overwhelmed. We've all seen that toddler meltdown. The angry self is definitely driving the bus.
Right. And the common mistake we make as adults, the book points out, is just correcting the behavior without helping the child understand the driver. We focus on the what, not the why inside.
And we miss the chance to help them grow their own observer. The goal isn't perfect kids. It's kids who can feel everything and still learn to notice, reflect, maybe choose a different response sometimes.
So instead of just scolding, maybe helping them notice what anger feels like inside. Or seeing how kindness feels when they shift from protecting themselves to connecting.
Exactly. Planting those seeds of self-awareness. Connection and modeling, not just lectures. The book gives practical tips.
Like naming emotions, normalizing them.
Yeah. Validate the feeling first, then gently explore the trigger. Model pausing yourself. Let them see you take a breath before reacting. Ask reflective questions. What were you feeling then? Not just, why did you do that?
Creating little rituals, bedtime chats, celebrating when they notice, not just when they behave perfectly.
All of that. And maybe even using that inner bus metaphor, explaining different feelings. Try to drive, but they get to choose the driver. Schools could do more too. A system focused only on outward achievement misses nurturing inner awareness.
Which leads to adults who look successful but feel empty inside.
Precisely. We need more internally awake ones.
Which brings us to the success illusion. Society loves outward achievement, right? But sometimes people get there and find nothing, a void, because the drive itself became the purpose, losing connection to real meaning.
Yeah, in all that noise of achieving, the observer often gets drowned out. The loudest drivers, pride, fear, ambition, needing validation, they take over. And the quieter ones, like love, compassion, integrity, humility, they get pushed aside.
The book suggests 3 rough categories here.
Right. First, the evolved observers. The observer is active. Success flows from inner clarity, conscious intention. The true achievement isn't just the distance traveled, but the state of the soul carried along the way.
Then the redeemable lost observers. Maybe they've lost their way, the compass is off, but awareness is stirring. Disillusionment, loneliness. There's a sense something's missing. The bus can still be steered differently.
And third, the unevolved or disconnected automatons. The observer's been silent so long they barely remember it. Success feels mechanical, maybe detached from conscience. But the book stresses redemption isn't about deserving it, it's about awakening. Even a small crack, a moment of emptiness, can start the journey back.
So it's asking different questions, not just, am I succeeding, but at what cost? Not just, what am I building, but who am I becoming?
Exactly, because outer symbols fade, meaning anchored inside is what makes the journey worthwhile.
Okay, so let's bring it all back. The core idea. Every single moment, something is driving you. A feeling, a thought, a habit, a fear. Usually we don't even notice. We're just going, reacting. Sure, we're in control, but maybe we handed the wheel over long ago.
Right. And this whole deep dive, based on Nair's work, is about reclaiming that wheel. Not by fighting your emotions or denying your humanity, but by noticing what's driving you and then choosing more consciously, more wisely.
Recognizing maybe sadness needs a voice, but not necessarily the steering wheel. Fear might have a warning, but it doesn't always know the best route. Joy, love, courage, clarity, they're there, but they're often quieter.
They need the observer to consciously invite them forward.
And here's the really deep truth, isn't it? When most people say I, they're often speaking from the mind-body's automatic patterns, its conditioning, its fears. They blame themselves for every slip-up as if that's all they are.
But the book reminds us, you are not simply your mind-body. You're not every thought or every feeling. You are the awareness behind them. You are the observer, the one who can see the patterns without being trapped by them.
Real change happens when you stop identifying with every destructive impulse and start seeing it as just a driver, something you can understand and then maybe replace with something better. The book tells that story about the singer with anorexia.
Oh, yeah, that's powerful. Believing the starving voice was her, until her psychiatrist helped her see it as a misguided driver, separate from her core identity.
And that shift from identifying with it to observing it, that saved her life.
That's the work for all of us, really, to see clearly, to step back from the drivers we didn't consciously choose, and to deliberately pick the ones that align with who we truly want to be.
So the takeaway for everyone listening, it boils down to this. Pause, notice, choose.
Simple, but not easy.
Start small, in a conversation maybe, a moment of tension, even just sitting quietly. Ask yourself, who's driving right now? And what do I want driving instead?
If you just begin there with that simple inquiry, you're already starting to change your life. And that change, it doesn't just stay with you, it ripples out. You're helping create a quieter, wiser, more compassionate world, really, one conscious choice at a time.